Some families are looking forward to the Super Bowl, and other families are boycotting it completely. But maybe you're somewhere in the middle. No matter where you fall on this issue, this episode of City of God Families is for you. Hi friends, welcome back to the City of God Families, a podcast from Coral Ridge Ministries and the Institute for Faith and Culture. I'm Pastor Rob Pacienza, and today we're talking about something that's coming up soon, Super Bowl Sunday. I'll be honest, I love football, so I naturally look forward to Super Bowl Sunday every year. And last year, my team won. Go Eagles. In my family, the Super Bowl is about football, food, friends, and fun. It's a shared experience we enjoy together. But it's also one of the biggest cultural moments of the year. And as Christians, moments like this give us an important opportunity to pause and ask a bigger question. How do we engage culture wisely as followers of Christ? So let's start with something important that I want to say up front. God created beauty, creativity, music, and art. These are good gifts from Him. Think about the Psalms, worship music, choirs, orchestras, and hymns that have shaped the church for centuries. Even creativity itself is a part of God's design. So as Christians, we don't need to abandon culture or retreat from culture entirely. Instead, we're called to steward culture wisely. But Scripture also tells us to guard our hearts and our minds. When entertainment celebrates sin, we're called to pause and discern. Unfortunately, the music and entertainment industry pushes explicit sexuality and degrades marriage and human dignity far too often. Sometimes it feels like you can't even turn on the TV or look at your phone without messages attacking God's design for gender and sexuality. Hebrews reminds us that marriage is honorable, and Genesis teaches us that God created us male and female, intentionally and beautifully. That's why a helpful question to ask, especially during something like a halftime show, is this: does this help us dwell on what is pure, honorable, and true? Philippians 4, verse 8 gives us that standard. And if a performance risks pulling our hearts away from God's design, it's okay to mute it, skip it, or turn it into a teachable moment. What we should never do is consume it passively. Here's another important truth to remember. The Super Bowl isn't neutral. Cultural events often carry messages about identity, morality, authority, and freedom. Whether you're viewing commercials that play throughout the game, listening to athletes give post-game interviews, or watching artists who perform during the event, these are all avenues for the world to promote ideas contrary to God's. That doesn't mean we panic or fear culture, but it does mean we engage it with open eyes. 2 Corinthians tells us to take every thought captive, to obey Christ. Romans reminds us not to be conformed to this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. So if you choose to watch thoughtfully, ask questions, talk as a family. Compare what you're seeing with what Scripture teaches. This is what discernment looks like in action, engaging culture critically, not aimlessly. Now, parents, this part is especially important for you. Every household is different. Every child is different. Some families may decide that certain visuals, language, or themes could lead to confusion or cause stumbling, especially for younger children, or for those wrestling with temptation, identity, or cultural pressure. Jesus warns us about leading little ones into stumbling, and that means knowing our children well. For other families, especially with older, more mature kids, these moments might open the door for meaningful conversations. Conversations like, here's what the world is saying. Now let's see what God says. There isn't a one-size-fits-all rule here. What matters is wisdom, prayer, and loving leadership. James promises that God gives wisdom generously to those who ask. And here's something else worth remembering. Engaging culture wisely doesn't just mean saying no. It also means choosing better things. Instead of simply boycotting, families can pursue positive, God-honoring alternatives. Some families may choose to watch the game and then switch to an alternative halftime show. One good option this year is Turning Point USA's All-American Halftime Show, which is planned to celebrate faith, family, and freedom. And you can simply find it with a Google search. So at the end of the day, it's all about making thoughtful, biblical choices. We don't just reject what tears down, we actively pursue what builds up. because music and art can point to the goodness of God. Entertainment can uplift the soul, and families can choose to model content that strengthens the faith rather than weaken it. So before Super Bowl Sunday arrives, consider gathering as a family to pray together. Ask God for discernment. Talk openly. Ask questions like, what honors God here? What doesn't? And how can we respond faithfully? Seek counsel from Scripture and from trusted believers. And remember what Romans teaches us, that whatever does not proceed from faith is sin. Our goal isn't to fear the world around us. It's to faithfully engage in a way that honors God and leads others to Christ. We're called to be in the world, but not of it, to love beauty, reject what is evil, and shine as a light in the darkness. So now let's pause for a family conversation. I want you to ask each other, what kinds of music or entertainment help you feel closer to God? What makes something difficult to watch or listen to? How can our family practice discernment instead of passive consumption? What does it mean to take every thought captive in our daily lives? I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today on the City of God Families. Don't forget to subscribe so you and your family never miss an episode. And as you head into Super Bowl Sunday, remember, we don't retreat from culture, we don't surrender to it. We engage it wisely as followers of Christ. Until next time, I'm Pastor Rob Pacienza here on the City of God Families. The City of God podcast is produced by Coral Ridge Ministries and made in partnership with the Institute for Faith and Culture. Visit us at cityofgodpodcast.com to access all of our previous episodes. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, or anywhere you get podcasts. A full video version of this podcast is available on YouTube. This is the City of God podcast, where Christ meets culture.